just your reaction to this news, because you were talking to our staff earlier.
Yeah.
And this before this news broke, about the divisiveness in our country. And then you add something like this where we start using law enforcement to go after politicians and people running for office or former presidents who are running again for office. And then immediately everybody's got to pick a side. And then you've got to jump into a box. Are you for on President Trump? Are you against President Trump? And it doesn't really matter what the issues were or how ridiculous this is. It's like politics determines that.
And that's what's so dangerous about what we're seeing here is the weaponization of these institutions that should exist to serve the best interests of the American people, but instead are being manipulated to serve the political interests of the party that's in power. And this is the kind of warning signal to all Americans, regardless of what party you identify with. You maybe don't identify with one party or another, who you like, who you don't like, is this sets that precedent of saying, well, whoever gets in power then has at their disposal all of these different federal agencies and law enforcement agencies to go after their political opponents. This is a very dangerous thing that directly undermines the Constitution. It undermines our republic. It undermines our democracy. And once we lose that, then we start looking a whole lot more like a banana republic or some of these dictatorships that we see in other parts of the world.
Yeah, where we use law enforcement to go after our political opponents instead of just beating them at the ballot box.
That's right.
Beating them with ideas. I mean, unfortunately, it's like we can't even have these discussions. You ran for president of the Democrat Party, decided to take on that machine, face the consequences of taking on the machine, quite honestly, and decided to keep speaking out.
Yeah.
But you've been through that. A lot of us have I'd say for the first time in a lot of our, we may have grown up on the other side politically, but are realizing that, hey, we can question this too. We don't have to just go by whatever to say we have to start this war or we have to rush into Ukraine or we have to, and if we don't agree with that, we're not bad Americans.
You're just searching for the truth. And we've talked about that. And I've talked to you about that when the Afghanistan withdrawal happened so terrible. It was just, I think our generation, the three of us, are just searching for people who are telling the truth. Even if it's the truth they believe, at least you know they believe it.
Right.
Right.
Right. And people who are willing, who unfortunately that is an act of courage now, an act of courage to actually not only speak the truth, but believe in and recognize there is such a thing as truth.
Right.
There is such a thing as objective truth, not just my truth or your truth or whatever someone wants to concoct. And this goes directly in line with the danger of weaponizing our government against political opponents, against the American people. Is then, if there is no such thing as objective truth, then it is those who are in power and who have these powers of the force of law and law enforcement who then get to say, well, this is what is true, and you must fall in line and comply or else face the consequences.
People sometimes try to say, well, you guys it sounds like you're always like in times. Someone's talking. But the truth is, we have an organization that fights in court because we believe it's worth fighting for. You're in the Army Reserve because you believe the idea of America is worth fighting for.
Yes.
Not a specific politician, but the idea of America. And we're always trying, like you said, we should accept people whose ideas change and grow, and because that's the whole point of our country. And we have to we're always trying to make it perfect. We're never going to be perfect. We always want to try to get there, which means we always have to rethink things and question our leaders and question pretty powerful people that for a long time felt like they were above questioning. And it wasn't even Republican, Democrat, big companies,
think a lot of them
huge
still do.
industries. And we realize if we do come together, we're still strong enough as people that to question them is no longer makes you an unpatriotic, bad traitor, un-American, but is actually the most American thing you can do.
It absolutely is. And I think it's important to remember that, even as the situation sometimes seems hopeless, first and most importantly, as God embodies and is unconditional love. As long as there is God, there is love and there is hope, period. When we look to the Declaration of Independence, we're reminded we are a self-governed people. So I hear from a lot of people who just say, my gosh, like, I don't even feel like voting because I don't think my vote will be counted, or I don't think it matters. I don't think it makes a difference. I'm just one person. This is important for us to remember. We are a self-governed people. That is the vision that our founders had for this country. So if we are sick and tired of corrupt politicians, if we are sick and tired of the elite in Washington who think they are better than us, that they don't have to answer to the people, that we exist to serve them rather than the other way around, well, we are the ones who can bring about that change, and that change is through lifting our voice, exercising our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution, and voting.